I'm so excited for this topic that we're going to be talking about today. We have been on this journey this season, and we're talking about wellness design, not as a style, but as a philosophy. And it's so meaningful because if you want to achieve true wellness, you can drink the green drinks and exercise, and it's all great. And believe me, I am all for that. But our environments play such an important role on well-being. These are the places we live and work in every single day, our homes, our businesses, and they do impact overall how we feel emotionally, physically, even spiritually. And so this season has been focused on this philosophy of wellness design. And it's really been an incredible journey. And we're going to continue on that journey. Just to recap a little bit, we were talking in the last couple episodes, and listeners, if you haven't heard, I encourage you to go back. We're talking about the resonant framework, which is how we go through design to achieve well-being. It's so important. Resonant framework. It's a diamond shape, if you can imagine. Last couple episodes, we talked about the top of the diamond, which is identity. And that's about discovering who you are and how we design space around the who. Last episode, we talked about behaviors and rituals. And that's that really brings the function to this space. And this episode, we're going to talk about connection, the relational aspect of the resonant framework. So this is the third dimension, and so important because human connection is a core need for everyone.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And how we connect in these spaces is so important, whether it's connection with ourselves or connection with others. And it's not just about connection, though. It's about meaningful connection. And that's how well-being is achieved in these spaces when we're speaking about the relational aspect. So when you really think about it, Valerie, what we do for a living is we design connection.
I love it. That's must be why we have so much fun at what we do, right? I think there's such a great accomplishment in the way that you can use design and the power of design and the power of architecture and details and artistry to kind of bring all that together. And it really is almost like that soft blanket that wraps around you. You don't even really realize that some of these things have been planted and positioned in such a way that allows you to really foster connections in that sort of way. But this is what we do. This is what we do every day, whether it's a med spa, another beauty type of space, or even for the home. The same principles that we're talking about here still apply. And, it's really through the power of design that we can catapult these concepts and these ideas and really make it a space that really emotionally connects with you and allows you to kind of get to that deeper level.
100%. Listeners, this is so important. If you're missing connection, think about your space. What are you missing? What's not happening? Whether it's your place of business, and as you mentioned, we design medical, aesthetic, wellness spaces, we design beauty spaces, we design homes and wellness spaces, and it's all about connection with people. And I love this idea of lingering, right? We talk about this a lot with our clients, is this idea of people wanting to linger in these businesses, right? They want their clients to feel warm and welcomed and to want to linger. And that's sort of the magic behind connection, because if you can create a space that forces somebody to linger, even if you are being reflective and you're having one-on-one time with yourself and
Yeah.
in a place that you want to be reflective, or you're meditating, or you're just, thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and how that space helps you to linger and stay. I think those are the spaces that really start to foster connection. And we're going to be talking about the details and how we can help create that connection in these spaces that we're designing and building and that we live in.
I love it. Let's do it.
Valerie, isn't it true that connection isn't just emotional or reflective, but architectural?
100%. 100%. I think, that's just like what we were starting to touch on here, is that through design, through these details, you're really able to open up a whole different level of design and connection to a space. A great example I feel like would be, take a room that has a fireplace or a room that doesn't have a fireplace. This is like an architectural feature. It's usually a focal point in a room. And the way that the fireplace is able to really draw people in, to encourage them to stay, to encourage that type of connection, it's like it's magnetic. If you've I'm a big proponent of fireplaces. I know you are too. And there's just that innate connection to fire and to emotion and, our behaviors that really bring, I think that architectural lasting quality that's so important.
I agree. We're both huge fireplace lovers. And
Yeah.
I will even go as far as to say that I would love a fireplace in almost every room. Hear me out on this.
Okay.
As you know, when I'm remodeling my home, and I've gone through phases of remodels, when I remodeled my family great room, open floor plan concept, I positioned this fireplace in a corner, not as sort of like, traditionally centered on a seating area, but in a corner so that no matter where you're at in this huge, great room, you can see the fire.
I love it.
So important. But I would go as far as to say, because, my next step in my renovation project is my primary bathroom and my walk-in closet and our primary bedroom. And I will have a fireplace in my primary bathroom. And I know you thought I was going to say bedroom.
I did.
But that too. I was going to say bedroom, 100%.
Yeah.
Bathroom, I say check.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Imagine like a cold, rainy day and you're getting ready for an event and you've got a fireplace happening in there. And, just talk about even personal connection, right? To feel good, to feel warm, to even create an experience around getting ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what a testament to yourself to sort of honor who you are when you're getting ready. Instead of stressing, you're connecting. You're connecting to the moment. You're connecting to yourself and maybe your partner, and sort of this whole ritual of getting ready. So yes, fireplace. The other one is fireplace in the kitchen, right?
I love that too. Yeah, I can't get enough fireplaces.
We were designing that one home project where we're looking at this idea of having a fireplace in the kitchen.
Which I still think would be amazing.
Can we convince them?
Maybe. Should we try?
I think they're always open to our ideas.
Yeah.
I want to give them the wow.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that's such a integral and central part, and just like the kitchen is, which I'm sure we'll get into more detail in another episode about some of our home living spaces, but the kitchen is such that integral part of kind of bringing and fosters connection, just like a fireplace and architectural details do. So.
Okay, so we've determined that design creates connection. And we talked about the fireplace, because where we're going with that is that design is in the details. We've always said this is one of our mottos. Design is in the details. These details matter. That was just one detail.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So if you want to do and create connection, one detail can make all the difference. What are some other details?
I think I love layering, different lighting levels, different types of lighting, anything that's really going to just make a space feel warmer and more inviting in that way. So you could put a beautiful table lamp or a pendant or a chandelier, or even just some indirect lighting, which really, can elevate the space and change different light levels depending on kind of what types of conversation you're having and sort of thing.
Exactly. If you want to create intimacy, the lower the light level, right? Yeah, I'm all about that. Layering lighting, dimming the lights, that really starts to create intimacy, not even just for your partner, but even a get together with friends and family, right?
Yeah.
If it's not about, if you're entertaining and you're watching a football game or something like that, that's a little different. But if you're wanting to create true intimacy, I think you've got to lower the lighting, and these these layered aspects of lighting, I think, are absolutely crucial. And that's something that we do in our designs every day.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, warm lighting, right?
Yes.
It has to be warm lighting. Listeners, 4,500 Kelvin temperature does not belong in a home. There, I said it.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Take that one to heart, please.
Okay, I'll always slip that one in. Warm lighting, 3,500 Kelvin temperature. Anywho, even warmer. But okay, so we talked about the lighting. We're talking about design creating connection, even the layouts of the spaces, right? And if you're talking about a family room and you're sort of missing connection in the house, is everybody facing the TV instead of facing each other? I think these are, it's how the space is laid out that can help create connection with others.
Absolutely.
Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah. We have to, first and foremost, if we don't have a way to have eye contact with each other, how are you, how does that even, how do you have a conversation? I mean, really?
Exactly.
Really?
Eye contact is everything.
Yeah. So I love what you're saying about, if everybody's just facing a TV screen, of course, that's not going to foster the same type of connection that if you change your layout so that, you are facing each other or turn toward each other, that really will start to create a different ambiance of, oh, hey, there you are. How are you? What are you doing?
No, I love that. Yeah, the layout plays a big role, as does materials and finishes. So,
Absolutely.
Again, textures, layers of textures, area rugs, an area rug will anchor a grouping. So if you want to feel connected to others and you have a seating grouping, we do this all the time, right? Mm-hmm. We're in the middle of designing of space and we're looking at this from the 3D realm, which we do all the time. And we look at a seating grouping and it's like, oh, what's missing? Oh, yeah. The area rug, the area rug is just such an anchor. And I think it speaks to connection. It really does, isn't it? It's like an anchor.
It is an anchor. Absolutely. You couldn't said it better. The area rug itself, just, it gives that grounding effect that we're talking about, the anchoring. And no matter how big of a space, it still helps make it feel like everything belongs together, that's with the
right. Belonging, right? That's
you
just said it right there. Belongs together, right? And that's people, right? When you think about meaningful connection, you really have to think, what is meaningful connection? Meaningful connection is where you're getting to the heart of life, right? Even vulnerability, to the point of vulnerability, but along those lines, you have to feel safe, right? So
First and foremost, right?
safety is people open up and are most vulnerable, which creates the greatest, most meaningful connections when they feel safe. And so that's part of our job, is creating these feelings or elements of safety
Mm,
around an environment to create those connections.
I love that.
Valerie, I have a question for you.
Lay it on me.
It's a trick question. Now,
Okay.
where in your home do you feel the most connection with others? And then, second question, with yourself.
Mm, that's a good
So one may be
one.
easier to answer than the other,
Yeah.
right?
Um, that's tough. I would say probably my living room is probably where I would gravitate towards having like really good conversations, meaningful conversations with others. I have my fireplace in there. I have really comfortable seating, and it always just feels very safe and cozy and warm and inviting. So it's like one of my favorite places to go. Like if I have friends over or family over, and they always say, "Oh, your sofa is so comfortable. I love it." And so I don't know. It just is. It's that sort of space
Mm,
that it just everybody feels good in it, and
mm,
so that helps. I feel like, and I think personally for my own self reflection, oddly enough, I feel like I gravitate towards like the dining room,
mm,
versus or in my house I have kind of like a front kind of I call it my nook. It's a little area in the front where it's just
mm.
surrounded by natural light and with windows, and so it's always very light filled, and that makes me happy. That's like a little happy place
I
there.
love that. I think this is good for our listeners to think about here, because I'm with you.
Mm,
For personal reflection and even like planning and
mm,
that sort of thing, when I want to be by myself, I think about vacations. And for some reason, when I'm on vacation, I do my best planning, even for business. I come back so refreshed. But one thing I do on those vacations is by myself, I sit in a lounge chair in the sun, but shaded,
of
always
course, yes.
in the sun, but shaded. It's the warmth that surrounds me that
Mm,
helps me to relax.
yeah.
And when I do that, I can start planning and, thinking of creating creative ideas for the business and all sorts of ideas. And so I was thinking about that the other day in my home, like when do I feel the most comfortable to be by myself, where I feel like I'm doing my best work? And maybe
Mm,
it's not the type of work you do at a computer. It's
yeah.
the planning and thinking and reflecting sort of work, right?
Mm,
And that's in a comfortable lounge chair, just like
mm,
the vacations. I was thinking about this, and surrounded by the natural light,
mm,
because I'm trying to, I think, replicate that feeling or idea. And so, listeners, this is something I encourage you to do, is to really think about, if you want to be your best self in your home, do you have a place that you most closely resonate with, that helps you to plan, to think, to reflect? For me, it's outside. If I had a choice and it's, 82 degrees, I'm
100%. Yeah,
outside
yeah.
on the patio in a lounge chair doing exactly what I would do on a vacation when I can. It doesn't happen often, but boy, that's my me time.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think that's also a really good point. Those moments that we have where, we're on vacation, where you can be truly relaxed, right? Because that's the whole point of, of taking a break and going on vacation, is to kind of regroup reset. And so I think there are moments like if you are somewhere and you're having those same thoughts and feelings like, wow, this is like the best. I feel so comfortable. I feel so relaxed. How do you replicate that at your home? And I think that's such a good insight and a way to think about it that's very natural.
Oh, here's a good one. It's the dining room. When I think about connection, and I do work at my dining. I have an open plan, so I work at my island, my dining table. I'm sort of all over the place. But the dining room table for an intimate dinner, whether it's one-on-one or with guests or family, that to me is where connection really happens over good food,
Mm.
cozy environment, candles, just the right background music, fireplace, of course, in the corner. You can see it from all angles. And right there, you've created this place for connection, right? And so
Absolutely.
that's something that again, listeners, to be thinking about where in your home can you really create these connections with others? And how can you accomplish that even in a dining room, for example? Not everybody sits at a formal dining room every day. Maybe it's just on a special occasion. Sometimes it's a Sunday family meal that we sit at the dining room table. And it's probably meaningful for a lot of people, but maybe we don't do it enough, A. And
So
B, if you
true.
don't, what is it that you can create in terms of rituals and design to create that level of comfort
Yeah,
and that level of intimacy?
I love that. And I want to challenge our listeners, if any of you have those dining room spaces, because I think that's such a great example. If you have a dining room space and you walk by it every day and nobody uses it, please, please, please do something, change that, make it a
Mm.
space that is somewhere where everybody wants to be, where everybody wants to come together, and it's not just wasted opportunity for connection.
I love it. That
Yeah.
is an opportunity for connection.
Yeah.
And if you're lacking connection in your life, because remember, connection is a core human need and leads to well-being. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about wellness design, not as a style, but as a philosophy. And in order to have well-being in your environment, you need to create these connections. If you're missing those connections, it's doing exactly what Valerie was talking about, really looking at these spaces that are underutilized. And maybe it's just, another challenge is even that small detail that you can do or that small investment that you can make to create cozier seating grouping or invest in a new chair for self-reflection. There's so many things that I think we can do even that are, value conscious, and just by turning or changing a grouping that could make all the difference in the world.
Agreed.
Take that. Valerie, I'm going to talk about design like a therapist,
Okay, do tell.
right?
Yes.
If design has the power to change lives, isn't design intelligent, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's something we could really think about as we're thinking about our spaces and thinking about design as intelligence,
Mm.
and that our spaces are intelligent. Think about even this emotional connection to a space. Have you ever walked into like an older home and it feels happy, right? And I think spaces are so intelligent that they're able to hold memories and reflect those memories when you walk into a space,
I love that.
right?
Yeah. Quick side story here. You just made me think of this. I remember when I was looking for my now house that I have. We went through, I don't know, it was a ton, probably like 30 or 40 houses. Our poor realtor was probably like, get these people out of my hair.
I remember when you were
Yeah,
looking.
exactly. And, I didn't even think we were being that picky. Some things just didn't work out. It fell through. But I remember the first time that I stepped into this house, and I just had an overwhelming sense of like happiness, of peace, of like, I think this is it. This is the one. And, I still am just in love with our house. And I think part of it is, like you're saying, it's that character, it's the intelligence, it's the history that goes along with it that resonates with me, not only that, but all the natural lighting, and it worked.
I wonder if there is happy emotions built into the home, lasting emotions. That also goes to show that you can create those memories and that intelligence into the space, right? So if you're building a space around happiness and happy memories and joyful moments, as the years go on, the space reflects that.
Yeah.
And that's the real depth that design has. And we know it's true because as you're experiencing, you walk into a space and you have a feeling. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a dark feeling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like, get me out of here. And, and it's like, those are the spaces you don't want to be in. And don't kid yourself. Other people pick up on those dark feelings. If they're walking into your house and they're sort of feeling this darkness or this, vibe, if you will, it's the space. It radiates that. Yeah. And it has everything to do with how the space is laid out, the character of what is in the space, how personal it is. And so I think this is something that is really important for us to be thinking about. When we're looking for a new home or we're designing a space, I think we need to be thinking about these good bones, I think is a good way to do it. The same thing, when I found my home too, I thought, now this place has good bones. Mm-hmm. I think this goes along the lines of this idea of that a space has an emotional tone to it.
I love that. That's amazing.
So there's positive emotions and there's negative emotions. And we want to be focused on those positive emotions for really accomplishing well-being.
Absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of emotional tone, Michelle, I think there's I almost want to call it a little bit of an epidemic. I feel like loneliness in homes, right? And that feeling of like emptiness. And I think we really have an opportunity with design. It can be a solution to that feeling, that just tone of a space. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it's isolation.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's, we have clients who we work with the design of their home, and they have these huge homes, right? And there's so much separation happening in the house. And even though their home, there is an epidemic of loneliness and isolation happening. Yeah. And so I think that's part of the trend that was happening is sort of this intimacy trend where, people were staying home, but still losing the connection.
Exactly.
And so design can solve that problem. And I think it's so important to be thinking about what are the missing connections in your home that will sort of help to fix isolation, and that's the dining room, the living room. There's ways to solve that by creating environments that just draw the participants of the home into these spaces to really create those meaningful connections. And that's what we're talking about here, Valerie.
Absolutely.
We're talking about connection. We're talking about the human need for connection, but not just any connection. We're talking about meaningful connection. And we accomplish that through design. Design has the power to create connection, and it's part of the resident framework. Listeners, continue on this journey with us. There's a lot to unpack. We're going to be continuing on this journey. Next week, we're going to be talking about the how we bring it all together. And there's a lot of fun to be had there. So
yeah, don't miss it.
Don't miss it.